What's going on, everyone? We're back for another We're Racing video, and we're talking the French Grand Prix of 2019. Now, on the front end of the grid, didn't look like the best of races. We had a really hot track, which did seem to favour Mercedes. The Ferraris looked a million miles away, especially Sebastian Vettel. Here we can see they're celebrating Jackie Stewart's 80th birthday. But it was lights out and down into turn one. The Mercs led 1-2 going into the first corner. Charles Leclerc a bit cautious there. Good starts from the Red Bull and also the McLarens as well, not going too bad. Lando Norris, though, in the opening laps did lose out. You can see a few of the starts here. We can see Charles Leclerc gets pretty decent purchase off the line, tucks up behind the Bottas, but then he goes to the inside, which prevents him from getting further dragged down into there. Let's have a look at Sergio. They run out of road. We'll take the escape in a minute. There goes the Toro Rosso getting pushed wide. Locking up, done very well there to avoid contact. Here we see Sergio taking the escape route, which he actually gained, I think, 2 positions here. That's why he got the penalty of 5 seconds. See fucking Renault here having a terrible time of it. Nico. The Stroll again looking really racy. The McLaren's looking super quick, going to the outside here. Really putting some pressure on the Red Bulls. It's not the first time we've seen that this year. It was a pretty decent start from most of the order. No dramatic, so you would expect that considering the amount of runoff we've got here, which is pretty boring. But it was the Mercedes which ran away with it, 1-2. Sebastian Vettel really struggled to start getting through the likes of the Renault, etc. Didn't really have his finest race, and it wasn't until the dying laps that we saw these 4 come together, and there was some real action on track. So here we can see Ricciardo going really ballsy, deep under the brakes, but goes away a bit too deep. I don't think the car would allow him. That forced Lando out wide there, and you can see both his teammate and Kimi Raikkonen making the most of that there. He showed the outsides to Ricciardo. He chose the inside still, and he got a penalty for that and for forcing the McLaren off the circuit as well. What were your thoughts on that? Was that a bit harsh? Should he have been allowed to go over that line there? Technically, he was off the racetrack and overtook a car, so you can understand the penalty for that one. But it was great to see the racing. You don't want to discourage it. But we've got to have a look at our rules, I think. I think Danny Rick, in hindsight, he could have probably gone to the outside, still got a slingshot around there. And Lando Norris done really well, considering he had such problems with his car. He developed a hydraulic issue with about 20 laps to go, I think it was. And they said to him, do not open the DRS because it might not close. It might cause other problems on the car and changing pressure, where of course it was dropping.
Well done, my friend. Fantastic race.
So Formula 1.5 really gave us the end to the race that we was looking for. We didn't see at the front. The TV cameras were all focusing on the battle between Bottas and Charles Leclerc, who was putting pressure under Valtteri Bottas, who lost about 4 seconds under the VSC. Didn't expect it to go green so quickly. And it finished Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, and I'm glad to see Charles Leclerc up on the podium. Here we see Formula 1.5, which is the best of the rest. Sainz won it, Raikkonen in P2 there. But another dominant performance for Lewis and for Mercedes. So it's Hamilton, Bottas, Leclerc, Verstappen, Vettel only in 5th. Sainz a great 6th. Ricciardo showing great potential in 7th. Later got demoted. Raikkonen P8, Hulkenberg P9, and Norris 10. Norris, of course, because of Ricciardo's penalties, he got P9. So he can be pretty happy with himself considering the struggles he had with his hydraulics. Then just outside the points, a very disappointing Gasly. Perez, you could be pretty content with probably 12th and 13th, I'd say. Kvyat and the Toro Rosso boys didn't really have the best of it. So Seb said, Mark said, when I was his teammate in the early days, Seb loved the telemetry, using the geeky side to his advantage. But now he's got the experience. He doesn't want some of that. He's been a bit hypocritical. So in his age, he doesn't feel like he needs to invest. And of course, these younger ones coming in are really doing so. And Mark said, Lewis just continues to find, like all the greats, that extra little gear there. And you can see Hamilton 187 points, Bottas 151, Vettel on 111, and Verstappen doing a good job there with 100 points. The fastest pit stop award again goes to Williams at sub 2 seconds, 1.97 seconds. That's amazing. They might have the slowest car, but the quickest box of lads. Sebastian Vettel got a 1:32.7 for the fastest lap and that extra point. And Mercedes now have more than 63 front row lockouts. That's an incredible feat in itself. And yeah, it just really paints a picture of the current landscape as well. But a great performance nonetheless from the Merc boys. They must be really pleased with their reliability, with their pace, and they're really just bringing it home week in week out. So that's was it 8 races now, 8 wins, 6 for Lewis as well, which is showing real dominance. Valtteri Bottas really needs to pull his finger out, or he's going to get left behind, and there's going to be some serious questions. So Lewis said, "I couldn't do it without the incredible team. I'm so proud of everyone and so proud to be part of this group of people. This has been the best start of the year, so we've got to enjoy it." Yeah, it couldn't be any better. Lewis said it's an awesome track to drive in the race, but it wasn't easy at all. There's always things happening and everything is on the edge. With the blisters, I was quite worried about getting a tyre blowout today. Of course, make it a bit more dramatic. We know it's Lewis, but of course, when you're in first position, you're just worried about bringing it home and just seeing that checkered flag. Valtteri Bottas, on the other hand, he said the start was my best bet, but Lewis also had a good start, so the opportunity wasn't there. Lewis was quick today. I was trying to keep up, but my front tyres were starting to fall into pieces, and that's the problem. If you're that second car, you can't really follow, especially if you've got the same equipment and you're going up against Lewis. And he said ultimately Lewis was quicker today, and I couldn't match his pace. Now moving on to Ferrari. Disappointing again and again and again. You know, I've never been the biggest fan of Ferrari, but I'm really starting to feel sorry for them now. Charles Leclerc, happy to see him back on the podium. But Sebastian Vettel is a really dismal race. Really didn't get it together. I needed to pass cars in that first phase of the race to really stand a chance of putting pressure on Max Verstappen and his teammate as well. We know the Mercs were up the road and away with it, but a good solid drive for Charles Leclerc. Managed to get a sniff at the end here. So he said that we carry a lot of stuff in the car which we don't need, so I'll be pushing to simplify the cars and make it less transparent. I think we should go back to the time when you had the stopwatch and sector times, and that's it. So Sebastian Vettel there is talking about the rules as well, amongst other things. Charles said here, I gave it everything. The second stint was all about tyre management. We did a really good job, and I was catching Valtteri. Unfortunately, there was not enough laps for me to try something. So Valtteri, he done the better job there. He used the most of his tyres, probably had the quicker car as well. But yeah, good performance there from him. The Red Bull, stark contrast, chalk and cheese as always. Max Verstappen really bringing home the bacon for the Dutch fans and for the Swiss team. Austrian team, sorry. And he just keeps pumping it in. Probably the most consistent driver, I'd say now, on the grid. Compared to the most inconsistent in Pierre Gasly. So he said, I always want to see how fast we can go and push as much as possible. But he was pretty much in his own race. He was like so far ahead of the McLaren boys in the end. He was just, doing his own tyre management. He couldn't really touch anyone in front or behind. So Pierre said, we'll have to quickly work hard with the guys to come back and put everything together for the next race. He's not really put it together to start with, to be honest. I feel sorry for this guy. The pressure is really taking its toll on him, and he's not performing. Danny Kvyat is knocking on the door. What a worse person could there be to take your place? That's just double kicking the nuts. But moving on to the McLaren, one of the feel-good stories of this year so far. Great performance in qualifying, P5 and 6 for McLaren. Real scenes. Yeah, Lando was loving it. He was absolutely loving it. P5 on the grid. Him, Zach Brown and Carlos were embraced. And it was a fairly good race. He didn't have the best start, Lando Norris, but up until he had that issue, he was really racy. But other than that, Carlos Sainz brought home the points again. But a great future for the McLaren team by the look of it. This is looking like a good little dynamic. I've seen some videos on these two together, and they really seem to bounce off each other. Of course, when they get a competitive car, that will change like it did with Lewis and Nico. But it's good to see McLaren on the up. Still some huge steps to take, even to get up to the likes of the Red Bull on a consistent basis. But they are making them gains incrementally. So it was Renault's home race. Better than it has been at the start of the season, you must say. Danny Rick really putting a show on for the fans, bringing it home in P7 later demoted, and Nico in P9 there. So a good performance for them boys. The car seems to be quicker. It was overtaking the Honda at one point as well. So Rick said the last lap was lots of fun. I know we missed that. It says that it's clearly disappointing to drop outside the points with a post-race penalty, especially as the team's home race. The last lap was a lot of fun. We had a fight and I enjoyed it. It's a shame to be penalised for it, but we aim to move on for it as quickly as possible. In terms of the race, I feel like we missed out a little bit at the start, especially after a really good launch off the line. Brake too early to turn one and was too looking back. That made the rest of the race hard work, but we still kept it clean and smooth from there. We're still taking a lot of positives to take from this, and we'll be looking for an immediate response in Austria. Don't expect it to suit their car that well, but great to see Danny Ric being able to fight once again. So the team boss said the Renault engineered cars certainly tried to bring this Grand Prix to life. Daniel didn't have the best of starts, but fought back thanks to a well thought out strategy and aggressive drive. Nico stayed on Kimi's gearbox throughout the race and was quicker, but not enough to make the move stick. The 10-second penalty imposed to Daniel means that he dropped out of the points. It's disappointing as we probably had the most thrilling point of an otherwise uneventful race with 4 great drivers fighting safely towards the end of the Grand Prix. Nico said maybe it could have been a different race, but we if we had qualified higher. But 13th to 9th is a strong effort. It was I was pushing all the race, but I was stuck in traffic, and this place is difficult for overtaking. You wouldn't think that with the long straights, would you? I had pace in hand today, which shows the race day we are strong. So good to see Alfa Romeo again, strong, resilient. Kimi Raikkonen really throwing it about there, getting in front of the likes of a McLaren, a Renault, for instance, at that cutting edge of the midfield group, you should say. So yeah, good punchy race from the Iceman, and hopefully that will bode well again for Austria. You know, a bit of similar in terms of the high-speed nature of it as well. So what do we think? Is this a turning point for Alfa, or is it track-specific? Giovinazzi, again, didn't really get himself hooked up as much, but still showing pace in the car. Alfa Romeo, quite disappointing Grand Prix for them, you must say. Alexander Albon and Danica Kvyat, they didn't really look like they had the pace. Albon had the old spec engine. Danica Kvyat had the new spec engine, which he had a penalty for, but he managed to make up some places. Racing Point, P12, P13, pretty strong result for them, but still looking for more. Really behind with their upgrades, etc. And Williams having a battle at the back. It was great to see them two fighting. We had K-Mag, P17 and a DNF from Grosjean. I'm really sick and tired of listening to Grosjean. For me, he has to go. He has to be out of there. He was throwing his toys out the pram at his home Grand Prix. He needed to get his head down, get on with it. You know, for the fans that have been there, paid a lot of money to go and see this guy. K-Mag is the more consistent driver. That's why I would keep him. He's showing a bit more maturity about him. And I think someone else could step into that seat pretty soon if he carries on the way he's going at the minute. So this is Formula 1 F.5. We can see here, Lewis Hamilton, he sort of lost a bit of ground recently to Ferrari, but he's still like right up there with him just by himself. Hamilton streaking out in the lead of the championship there. You can see he stuck down his number boards just to make sure Sebastian didn't come in and pinch it. So he said, pole position victory, and not the fastest lap. No, Sebastian got that at the end. So that's over 200 points finishes in 237 races for Lewis Hamilton. Great achievement. So what's the deal with Hulkenberg? Would he move on? Would he not? This is just Coulthard throwing something out there, but there's not really much possibilities for him. So next round, we move on to Austria Spielberg. Back-to-back races coming this weekend. Coming live to you. Should be a good race, probably for the Mercs, because they're pretty good through the high to medium speed corners into the heavy braking zones. But then Ferrari do have a bit of pace on the straights, but I expect Merc to come out on top once again. Ferrari potentially just behind Max Verstappen even around this track if he gets it hooked up, I would say. Let me know your thoughts and predictions. Let's drop some comments, guys. Let's get the conversation going. What was your talking points from that Grand Prix? And I hope to speak to you again very soon. Thanks for watching. We're Racing. Ciao for now.